What's up, family? Hello. I'm Preston. I'm reading a little thing here. It helps me. My name is Preston. I am I'm from Texas, but I live here in Columbus, Ohio. I have 21 years in recovery. I'll celebrate 22 in about 2 or 3 weeks. And today I am a husband, a father, what else? A son, an active member of the recovery community. So thanks for having me.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for coming out and joining us. If you could start off by sharing a bit about your childhood.
Sure. Childhood, I would say I grew up in a relatively normal family. We had, dad was a newspaper publisher, mom was a hairstylist. We would be considered probably lower middle class income, so had everything we need, not a ton extra. And for the most part, my family was great. It was a loving family. They did a lot of things really well. But also there was a lot of chaos as well. I would say that most of people in our extended family and community of friends, at the minimum, you would call them heavy drinkers and heavy users, right? The functional type, work hard, play hard. One of the messages I remember growing up was, if you show up to work, pay your own bills, you can do whatever you want. I remember there always being a lot of people around, particularly on the weekends, backyard parties at our house, or going out to the country, going to big get-togethers. And I just remember the buzz, right? Like the buzz in the house. As kids, we got to do whatever we want, drink as many Dr. Peppers as we want, play hide and seek, all that good stuff. But realizing now that I subconsciously associated substance with fun. And then from that, it kind of grew to like, let's get a couple drinks. And that sense of, one fellowship talks about that sense of ease and comfort that comes with the substance. And my big deal, I like to smoke weed. That was kind of, I really remember that. I was 13, 14, somewhere in there, like I think maybe 7th or 8th grade, and smoking out of a can. You remember we used to do the can and poke that, and we're in a dude's garage, and I'm going, do I feel something? I don't know if I feel something. And I remember going, oh, this is, so I can get it at school. I can do it most days, and with a little Visine, get away with it. I didn't need someone that's 20, 21 to get it for me, right? And so, over time, that became my main was weed, right? And then I would binge on the weekends, and then I would binge on other drugs as my addiction progressed. But the problem is slowly but surely, my run-ins with my parents originally, then my coaches, you'd hear other parents go, you can't hang out with them. Sometimes they could, sometimes couldn't. But then I got my first DWI my senior year in high school. 2 years later, I got a drug possession. A year after that, another DWI. 4 months after that, I got another drug possession by the same police officer that arrested me 4 months earlier. So here I am, confused. And I'm confused because in some areas of my life, I'm responsible and productive, but yet in this other area, I keep ending up in the back of a police car. So I graduated high school. I started working week 1, 40, 50 hours a week. I got a real estate license by the state of Texas. I was making more money than any of the other friends in my friends group that didn't go to college. And quite frankly, most of my friends used harder than I did. So I'm fine.
Right.
What's the problem?
Right.
So anyway,
Yes.
Yeah.
Just kind of unlucky. So what happens, or how is it that you decide I want to do something different? If you could kind of
Paint that picture.
Yes.
So the last 2 arrests 4 months apart. The last drug possession was in December of 2000. I was 20 years old. I knew my court date wasn't going to be until May. In my mind, I think I'm genius, because most people get arrested and then they quit using, and they cut back, like and I'm going, dude, you got 5 more months. Why would you do that? Like, and I specifically remember going, do I smoke? Do I not? Whatever. I'm like, what am I talking about? I've gotten off everything I've ever gotten in trouble for. I know how to speak in a respectful manner, you know, shake hands, yes sir, no sir. I knew all to do that, and I'm going, you know what? I'll just tell them the truth, and it'll be no big deal. Slap on the wrist, all good, you know. Because the other arrests, my dad knew someone. I would pay for a lawyer because I had some money. They didn't have enough evidence, and I presented well enough that I could get off. I know a lot of people don't have that privilege and benefit, but I benefited that way. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, I was just like, screw it, I'm just going to use up until my court date. I go in, I tell the truth. They go, thank you for telling the truth, but now you're on strict probation. Instead of checking in monthly, checking in weekly. By that time, I turned 21, and I'm going to work during the day, going to treatment at night, and get off at 5, go to treatment at 6 to 9. But because I didn't have an alcohol problem, I was drinking on the weekends. Apparently, family, you're not supposed to drink on the weekends when you're in drug and alcohol treatment. But I remember the most significant life-changing conversation that I had was with my counselor, who I didn't believe could give me advice or direction because she herself wasn't a drug addict or alcoholic. I'm like, one, I didn't think I was a drug addict or alcoholic, but on the other side, I was like, what do you know? You're not, right? Mm-hmm. So anyway, so she goes, we were debating on why is it that I can't use alcohol. I said, hey, I'm 21 now. I'm legal, right? I should be able to, it's legal, right? Right. She goes, well, I get it, no problem. You are on strict probation with the county, right? And I go, well, yeah. She goes, well, do you remember signing that contract that says you won't use any mind or mood altering substances, including alcohol and marijuana? I'll go, I don't remember signing it, but I believe you. Right. And she goes, you are in drug and alcohol treatment, and we say you can't use any mind or mood altering substances, including marijuana and alcohol. And I go, well, you got a point. And she goes, and if you get your probation revoked, you go to jail, you might lose your license, your real estate license, right? Which is how I justified my functional behavior. So now my probation officer, she says, I just got off the phone with probation, and he said if you get kicked out of here, automatic revoke, right? So my freedom's on the line, my ability to earn and justify my function, right? Yes. Is on the line. And then she goes, oh yeah, and why are you hanging on to this substance? She did this. Why are you holding on to this substance for dear life? The substance you say is not a problem that you don't like. And why do you continue to participate in the behavior? Those two things, as she laid it out, I've never heard anybody lay it out for me like that. And I go, maybe she has a point. And so I didn't think I was an alcoholic. I didn't think I was a drug addict. Maybe doing illegal things were a problem, but I didn't, think that I qualified, but I knew she had a point. And that was on a Thursday. I don't like quitting on Thursdays. I like quitting on Monday. And so I went hard that weekend. I woke up, I used well into, Sunday morning, and then that next day that I was fully abstinent was September 10th of 2001, right before September 11th. Wow. Right? And September 10th of this year, I have 22 years. And that was like the start of that conversation in treatment, was the start of the turn. I was going to meetings. I remember specifically the transition of, holy crap, they're making sense. Wow, I'm actually more like them than I thought. Wow, I never knew, right? I never knew that I could think or feel that way. I'd never heard anybody in my friends or family circle talk like that. They were talking like that. And I remember transitioning to, maybe they're right, to, holy crap, I think they are right, to, I think I'm a drug addict and alcoholic, to, I don't think I can make it.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, 'cause
yes.
Like, how many people go, they're in treatment and they're like, oh my God, I'm great, but I got to go home and I don't think I can make it. And so luckily I was going to treatment 4 days a week. So from 6 to 9, Monday through Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I was going to meetings. I would either work or go to extra meetings on the weekend. So I was able to maintain. And I remember getting out of treatment going, man, I actually quite like this, but I'm scared. If I don't have to be here, if I'm not dropping every week, if I don't have those 3 hours tied up every day, what am I going to do? And they go, well, why don't you replace treatment with meetings? I'm pretty sure I went to a meeting virtually every day for about 4 years. And then when my school started ramping up, then I started cutting back. But that's something that I talk quite a bit about now when I talk about the two things that are most undiagnosed around addiction recovery and mental health is A, the dysfunctional family, which is, for those of y'all watching, mental health and addiction is a symptom of mental, emotional, family, community dysfunction, right? That everybody has a role. And just because their dysfunction doesn't look like mine, it's hard to see, right? It's hard to see the codependence. It's hard to see the passive aggressive behavior. It's hard to see the strings attached. It's hard to see that the way that you compensate for your self-worth is through achievement, and everybody thinks that because you're so successful that you're on top of the world, but nobody knows when it's quiet you still don't feel good enough. They don't see that, right? And so it's the greater issue, which is mental and emotional dysfunction, family dysfunction, and then 2, how long it really takes to change a behavior.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This has been fantastic. So just a couple last questions. So having, 21 years, coming up on 22 years, could you talk about the dreams that you have had that have come true and any dreams that you continue to have for the future?
Yes.
Kind of highlights.
Yeah. So some of the, as my mentor would say, the residue of recovery, right? The stuff that's left over, right? Is when I went to college. College was not on my, it was not on my agenda. I probably wasn't geared to go to college. I'm from College Station. I idolized going to A&M. They told me, if you get this ring right here, right, this $250,000 ring, that everything's going to be great. It wasn't, but I'm glad I got it. So I went to college. I met my wife. My wife's from England. She's a life coach in family recovery. Traveled all over the world. Moved across. I've hit the South, the East Coast, the Midwest, and most importantly, for the first time in my career, my background's in sales, but for the first time in my career, my personal interest has now intersected with my professional interest. The opportunity to do what I love, which is to teach, train, coach, speak, and I'm doing it around something that, one, is meaningful to me, but I think can make a big impact. That's probably some of the most profound benefits of going, maybe my counselor's right. Maybe I'll consider abstaining from all substances until I figure out what's going on. And here's the kicker: doing everything they asked of me. And that's very important.
Yes.
Doing everything they asked, because most of people, myself included, was, what's the least amount of things I need to do to be able to get the most amount of bang for my buck, which is not get in trouble anymore, keep having relationships, right? And so often people don't do all the things, and they don't do it for long enough. They don't, again, going back to, what if we spent 10, 15, 20 hours a week on our mental and emotional health care? Now, it sounds like a lot, but if we go, our butt's on the line, I'm trying to save my marriage, I'm trying to be a person for my kids to look up to, I'm trying not to get arrested no more, I'm trying not to want to off myself anymore, maybe you should spend that kind of time for a little while And then once you kind of get stable, then we can start backing off. But most people, like, a couple hours a week ain't enough. A couple hours a month ain't enough, right? And so, anyway, that is the most meaningful thing for me, is to be a message, a voice, not just for people in recovery, but just for people in general. Absolutely. And that's what I love advocating for.
And we can change. Like
100%.
That's the beauty of it. So, okay, so final question.
Sure.
What are some words of hope or some inspiration, words that speak true to you? Sometimes people call them the cliches and whatnot, but some of those words of hope that when you're struggling, that make you feel better.
Yeah. I really like Just for Right Now. You know, we talk about just for today. My sponsor would be like, hey, sometimes just for right now is good enough, right? My favorite right here is my it's already done, right? Which means I don't need to plan. I don't need to set goals. I don't need to look forward to when, right? Because it's already done. That's what I believe. It's done. All I've got to do is to do what's in front of me. Do the next right thing, as we say in some of our circles. Let it begin with me, baby.
I love it.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for coming out and joining us. This was fantastic. What an incredible story of hope and really to see. I think a lot of times people have this mistake that, you know, at 20, 21, you know, even younger, that people don't get well, and they do, and you are a perfect example of that and how to be able to do it. I really appreciate the detail that you spoke about of really making those changes and putting forth the effort and the time. Like, that is, you did a great job. So Thank you so much.